Hi, my name is Angie. I'm going to do a demonstration on flowers, edible flowers and leaves. So I start with just some fondant. You can either use gum paste or fondant. It's whichever you prefer. If you're in a hurry and using fondant, you can also use Tylose. Tylose will dry out your fondant. If you're in a crunch, you have to make flowers and leaves for that day. So I like to use gloves so then I don't stain my fingers. A couple different things that if you're doing a mass production of a lot of flowers you can do is if you have a KitchenAid and you have the pasta setting, we just put it on the front of our KitchenAid and it rolls out your fondant all the same depth. And so you're not rolling individually. I'll roll out a whole big piece of fondant, cut a whole bunch of leaves and put a piece of saran on top, and then I'll individually do them. If they get a little dry, we put Crisco on them, where I have a piece of saran as I'm cutting stuff out. The best thing to do is we just have like little old nylons. Some people use powdered sugar. We use cornstarch. Powdered sugar tends to make things sticky, and cornstarch doesn't. So I'll put that inside the mold before I put this in so it doesn't stick. A lot wider, and you can see all the texture on it. The main important thing to remember is when you're getting these out, just to be patient or you'll tear them. And you can see the textures on both sides. Sometimes I make them a little too thin. And then when you don't want your edges to be thick. So you want to take this just on a piece of foam, and depending on how smooth or how hard you push, if you push too hard it tears the petals, as you can see. Just be gentle. But you want to make them thin and not try and take away from the center. That one's pretty rough. And then when you shape them, we have different kinds of things. You can use these to ruffle them up, to let them dry. We also use these for rose petals before we make roses. When we do leaves or certain flowers, we'll take just an egg carton and just put the petals and leaves in here to make different shapes. And then we have different dusters to dust them as we go. The thicker your gum paste or your fondant when you push it in, the bigger your flower is going to be. So you want to make sure you don't make it too thick or it'll come over the edges. And honestly, I'm out of practice. I haven't done this for a while. You can buy a lot of these molds online on Amazon. We've sent for different, there's different places we've looked online to find different molds with the different linings in them and textures. That one's better. Yeah, it all comes down to how much cornstarch you have in there. If it comes out better. This is not something you want to do last minute. So, and then like I said, just dust the edges and thin them out. Go around and roll them. The cornstarch will come off as you start to, when it dries. But you can roll them and they'll ruffle. We also do this with roses, a lot of your flowers. Then you don't have that cut edge from the mold. With leaves, it's kind of the same idea. With leaves, like I said, we found some great, there's different kind of leaves you can use. This is a rose petal one. This is probably my favorite one that we use. And there's different kinds of petal dust. We have just the flat petal dust. There's some that are a luster dust if you want to make stuff shiny. But with leaves, it's all, we don't make them shiny. Leaf cutters come in all different sizes. These are a smaller one, but you can have huge, big leaves like for botanical cakes. Or the main thing you want to do is if you're going to put a wire in here, you want to make sure that it's not too thin or your wire will show through, and you also don't want to have too big of a wire. I used to be my mother's assistant, so I would sit and cut wire, 100 pieces of wire. You want to stick it in the center as much as you can before you might be too thin, just so it's in the middle, and you want it probably halfway down so it supports the leaf as you're going. And take your, like I said, the dust, put the cornstarch in here so it's not going to stick. This one might be too small. And then just figure out the vein where you want it. This is a smaller leaf, so I don't want it where it's deep or it'll cut into it. Just press. And you can see you've got the veins in that. Same thing, you're going to take your ball roller, just go around gently, and you ruffle your leaves just like it would be on a cake or a tree. This wire's not. You want to try and stay away from the center because that's your base that holds it all together. If you make this too thin, your wire's either going to come out or it'll break. So. And you can elongate this, make the leaf a lot longer. When it's soft, you have to be careful. When it's dry, you can dust it. But you don't want to lose too much of your veins. And then we always tilt it and put it to make more lifelike. This one's not going to work, but see, I made this one too thin. But you can tilt them, angle them, pull them out. And then just set it whichever way you want in there to dry. And then as it dries, then you can dust it, the edges. One side we always dust like a more green and a brown, and the other side is yellow if it was hitting light in the trees. And it looks fast. This honestly takes a long time. When my mother makes roses and flowers, she'll have 10 or 12 leaves for just one flower. So I sit and listen to a lot of TV while I'm doing this. And if I'm worried that this is too thin, then I'll put something on top. Like, I think this one's gonna push through the wire, so I'll put this underneath. Because underneath you'll still have the veining, it's just gonna hide some of it. Same thing, put a little cornstarch in here. There is, there's the top and the bottom to these, yes. So that's the top, that's the bottom. And there's tons of different pads, you just have to find the ones you want or that you like, the depth of pushing. So it's kind of like playing with edible Play-Doh. My kids love to eat this stuff. And this vein you can see is kind of crooked, but you can push the leaf around and kind of set it where you want, flare it where you want, and get it super thin on the edges. And kind of just blend it over. And then you soon still see the veins on the back. Like I said, when it dries, then you dust them. Unless they're dust. So, alright, and then we just set it in there. So, we always put them at an angle. Leaves aren't flat, or most leaves aren't flat. So, anyway, do you guys have any questions at all? Oh. I was like, if you guys want to come up and play with this, you're welcome to. Or if you already know how to make leaves, but you're welcome to come and look at this stuff or ask questions if you'd like. So, bye.